Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And the minutes are carried forth. Tonight, we have three appointments to make to the City of Auburn's Planning Commission. We have three vacancies. I want to thank Mr. Bob Reitenbaugh, Dr. Warren McCord, and Ms. Robin Bridges for their service over the last 5 years. They've all done an outstanding job and very committed to our Planning Commission, and we're very grateful that they chose to serve our community over the last 5 years through our Planning Commission. I want to especially say thank you to Dr. McCord. This was not his first rodeo with Auburn's Planning Commission. He has served for a very, very long time. I believe history will record that as over 30 years of serving back and forth on Auburn's Planning Commission. And I thank Dr. McCord for coming back on and serving again, and certainly wish all of these individuals well as they move on, and thank them. It is under the state statute is the mayor's responsibility to make these nominations, and so tonight I will begin by making those nominations, and then the council will confirm those with a vote. My first nomination tonight is Oscar Mosley. Oscar is has served in our Air Force. He worked for Procter & Gamble and has retired to Auburn. He has worked on many different projects, products, marketing, developing with his job with Procter & Gamble, as well as different things he worked with the Air Force. He has gone through our Citizens Academy, and he is certainly capable of working with complex issues and decisions. So my first nomination tonight for the Planning Commission is Oscar Mosley. Any other further comments or thoughts from anybody on the council? Yes, sir.
As being a fellow Air Force member, I would like to offer some additional comments in support of Oscar Mosley. He was an Air Force officer with a double E degree. He failed to mention that on his application. And he was in charge of a $100 million renovation, if you will, or revamp for the upgrade of the engines on the F-16. No small thing. He, of course, as you said, then had a stellar career with Procter & Gamble. He has deep roots in Auburn, as we found out. He's a planner by vocation and by training, and for these reasons, I think he would make an exceptional addition to the Planning Commission.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Warren. Anyone else? Okay. What I'll ask the council to do is I'll say all in favor of Oscar Mosley, and if you'll just raise your right hand. Okay? All right. All in favor of Mr. Oscar Mosley, please raise your right hand. Okay. We will appoint him officially later on in the agenda. My next nomination is Jennifer Stevens. Jennifer has worked or is working at Auburn University. She's worked there for over 23 years with financial and facilities operations. She served on this city council for 6 months at the end of 2022. She's been through our Citizens Academy. She's currently serving the city of Auburn through our Parks and Rec Public Board. Getting to know Jennifer while she was up here in an interim basis serving on our city council, she did an outstanding job. I believe that she has an outstanding personality and disposition to work in the pressure-packed area of planning, and she is a committed citizen who will follow through and be dedicated to her task. So my second nomination tonight is Jennifer Stevens. Is there any comments for Ms. Stevens or thoughts?
I'd like to add on to what you said, Ron. I think Jennifer would be an excellent addition to the Planning Commission. She's lived in Auburn her entire life. She's been very involved in our community. She's president of the Junior League. My wife got involved with that, so I completely understand the time commitment that involves. She worked with her at the university. She's very well respected, and from her time on this council, I think she showed that she's committed to the community and make a wonderful choice. So.
Okay. All right. Anyone else have anything they'd like to say? Okay. All in favor of Jennifer Stevens, would you please raise your right hand? Okay. All right. We'll confirm that later in the agenda. My next nomination for the Auburn Planning Commission is Mr. Walker Davis. Mr. Walker Davis is about to retire from Auburn University. He has spent the last part of his career working at Auburn University's facilities in the Planning, Design, and Construction Department. He has been specifically over project management and project contracts. Early in his career, he was a contractor. On a volunteer basis, he has worked to volunteer with the Auburn High School band program, the Super 7. He's been a youth baseball coach, and he's very, very active in his church. His work, a quote from him, basically a quote from him on his application, his work has provided him with an understanding of the unique needs and aspirations of both residents and businesses, and I think in this case you could say developers. He is, during his career, he has listened to diverse viewpoints. He's comfortable asking questions, and he likes to collaborate with others. My next nomination is Mr. Walker Davis. Do I have any follow-up comments or thoughts?
I'd like to also speak in favor of that one. Walker is, I've had the privilege of knowing Walker for several years, and worked with him at Auburn University. He is an expert on Title 39, the Alabama Code. He is very qualified. I think he'd make an excellent addition to the Planning Commission. So,
Anyone else like to say anything? Okay. All in favor of Mr. Walker Davis, would you please raise your right hand? Okay. That gives us 3 nominations. I think it's very important for our community to understand that we had 11 applicants. We asked 8 of our citizens to go through an interview process. I am humbled that the quality of people who have the unique experiences that these 8 individuals demonstrated that we interviewed would want to serve our community in this form and fashion. As I alluded to earlier, there are easier ways to serve your community than through the Planning Commission. It's a lot of work. Their meetings can be sometimes intense. They are making very crucial decisions that lead our community to its present and into its future. And they will probably have more work to do over the next 12 to 18 months than they traditionally have to do in a planning realm. So I think all of the people who applied, I think all the 8 people that interviewed, there are people who are not named tonight that could do an excellent job. I am convinced of that. And I'm just thankful that all of you, and those that were not chosen tonight, I hope you'll continue to look for ways to serve our community, and that we will see your face and your application for another opportunity in the very near future. But I thank everybody, and I'm very grateful to live in Auburn and to have that kind of quality people who care that much about their community, willing to give up their time to serve Auburn in this manner. Okay, questions on tonight's agenda. Is there anyone on the council that has a question on the agenda for Ms. Crouch? Okay, hearing none. Ms. Crouch, anything for us?
No, sir.
Okay. It is after 6 o'clock, is there a move to officially adjourn?
so move.
All right, we will adjourn and we will move right into our regular meeting. I'll call to order tonight's Auburn City Council meeting for July the 16th, 2024. We welcome everybody that has joined us live in the council chambers. We welcome those that are listening on WANI as well as watching through our streaming services on YouTube and Facebook. Roll call, Lindsay?
Adams,
Here.
Koblenz,
Here.
Dawson,
Here.
Griswold,
Here.
Mormon,
Here.
Parsons,
Here.
Taylor,
Here.
Witten.
Here.
Here. Would you please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance and to remain standing for a moment of silence? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. Earlier tonight, during the Committee of the Whole, the City Council formally appointed Oscar Mosley, Jennifer Stevens, and Walker Davis to the Auburn Planning Commission. They will begin serving very soon. Their first meeting will be in August. Again, I want to thank everyone that applied for the Auburn City Planning Commission, and certainly we look forward to working with our 3 new members. As far as announcements tonight, I want to congratulate, and I don't want to take any thunder from our Auburn University announcement, but I want to say congratulations to Abby Stockard, Auburn University nursing student, who's just been recently named Miss Alabama, and we're proud of her for doing that, and all the best as she goes to the Miss America pageant. I want to remind everybody that the National Night Out is coming up August 6th. We'll actually be here in a council meeting, but that's an opportunity for our police department to integrate itself with neighborhood in Northwest Auburn, and I just appreciate everybody reaching out and being collaborative about this and sharing time and real relationships and fellowships with one another. Also, this weekend is Back to School Sales Tax Weekend, where you can buy certain supplies, certain items, and save on sales tax. All of the list of those items are, I'm sure, on our city's website. You can go to the Alabama Department of Revenue, I believe, and somebody will correct me that's sitting down in front if I'm incorrect on that. But this is your time. It's hard to believe that it's back to school, but it is back to school. I want to remind everybody that the Lee County Humane Society is having a fundraiser where they are doing a raffle for a pair of tickets to the Auburn and Oklahoma game later on in September, and this is to support the great work that goes on at the Lee County Humane Center. I also want to remind you that we have gotten a number of alerts recently about how full they are, and so if you and your family have been considering a pet, certainly now might be a great time for your selection. And we think the Lee County Humane Center, what a great and tough job they have. A week from Friday's Cheers on the Corner, one of the summer events that occurs in our downtown. The Downtown Merchant Association is in charge of this event, and it has been fun for many years now. Certainly there are city departments that support this, and we're grateful for that. And hopefully for good weather, we'll have another good night as we did earlier in June with the summer nights downtown. So if you're in town next weekend, certainly come and enjoy the time with us. Looking forward next a week from Saturday night, the Greater Peace Community Development Corporation will be having their annual roast, and I'm the person getting roasted this year. Mayor Pro Tem Beth Witten will be one of my roastees, and it'll be a fun night at Greater Peace Baptist Church in Opelika. They have a great cause for what they do to support the community. And Clifford Jones has been a powerhouse of a servant in both of our cities for a long, long time. And it should be a great time. If you are interested, please go to their website. I'm sure that there are still a few tickets available, and we look forward to having some fun and raising some money for a really good cause. All right, does anyone else have anything an announcement they'd like to make
I just
tonight?
want to ask a question, Ron.
Yes, ma'am.
The National Night Out on August the 6th, is that the one that the Housing Authority have?
Yes.
So they're doing it the same night? Okay.
Hold on a second. Executive Director Matthews, do you want to clarify?
Is my date correct?
Your date is correct, but this
Okay.
is the National Night Out. It's not the exact same one that we did years ago with the Housing Authority. We've actually separated those two events, and there will be a separate Housing Authority event
Okay,
at a later date.
good. Thank you for the correction. Thank you, Ms. Taylor. Where will this one be located?
The National Night
Sanford.
Out event is at the Duck Sanford Field.
Okay, good. Thank you very much. Nothing like the mayor having incorrect information. I apologize. Thank you, Connie, for catching me on that. I appreciate that. All right, anyone else that has an announcement or wants to correct something I said earlier?
I would like to.
Sure.
I would like to just piggyback on one thing you said. For the sales tax holiday for school supplies this coming Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, parking will be free downtown Auburn on Friday, if I got that correct,
Yes.
except for
Yeah.
the Wright Street parking.
Well, there's a
there.
lot of confusion about downtown parking, and you guys have received a lot of complaints. So I want to be very clear about downtown parking is when we announce that it's free, but that has to also do with when the university's in session. It is not a holiday. It is a university in session. They are not in session, would be the only reason, would it not? And it's a listed holiday in our city code, but we've had citizens complaining at you that they think all of summer is a holiday, and it is not. And so I need to caution everybody that the only reason we ticket downtown is to turn over spaces to patronize our merchants. So this is a day to come patronize them and get your sales tax-free holiday on.
And free parking,
Right, but it's normally not free,
right,
okay?
okay.
Because we will get a complaint tomorrow that somebody got a ticket, I'm sure. Okay.
Anyone else? Okay, we'll move forward with Auburn University communications.
So this week we're finishing up Camp War Eagle, which means students come back really soon. So it's going to be a lot busier in a few weeks. And that also means that football season's starting soon. And we're happy to announce that the university sold out all public season tickets and matched last year's record. I think it was over 63,000. So we're excited about that.
We are too. We look forward to seeing them. Thank you for your report. Look forward to our students coming back to town in a few weeks. All right, citizens' communications on agenda items. It's your opportunity to talk to the city council about anything on our agenda tonight. I will ask under item 10A, there is a public hearing with that determination tonight. If you would like to talk to the city council about item 10A, if you would wait to the public hearing, that would be the most appropriate time. But anything else that is on our agenda tonight, this will be an opportunity for you to speak to the council about that. Just please come forward and give us your name and address for the record, and you'll have 5 minutes to speak. Yes, sir.
Hi, my name is Chuck Hemmard. I am here to speak to you about agenda item 9A1, the Hemmard annexation. I live at 315 Lee Road 25, also known as Hillendale Drive. So just a couple of quick points, if I could take the opportunity. We're requesting this annexation of approximately 4.45 acres. It is our primary residence. We basically want access to the city schools. It's a little unique case. Part of my lot is within the optimal boundary, and part of it is beyond or adjacent to, but beyond. The staff planning does recommend approval, as it's my understanding that extending the optimal boundary to include this lot as part of an update to the comprehensive plan that the council will consider at some point in the near future, is my understanding. However, this is a timely sort of issue for my family. My daughter will turn 8 a week from yesterday, and she'll be starting 3rd grade. And as you probably know, the transition from 2nd grade to 3rd grade in the city would be into a new school building. And for her, it would be moving into a new school building with a bunch of new people. So it's just a good time for us to make that transition. And so I just kind of wanted to make that point. Also, the property to my west, which was beyond the optimal boundary, was allowed into the city in, I believe it was 8 months ago, November 2023. That was the Grinke property. And just like with that one, I completely, fully understand that not all the city services would be available on our street. I think majority of the houses on our street, we already have garbage service there, but we're on a well, we're on septic, and don't expect school buses to come down our dirt road. And that's all. I appreciate your consideration.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else like to address city council about an item that's on our agenda tonight? Okay, we'll move forward with city manager's communications.
Mayor, I'd like to re-announce the one vacancy on the Green Space Advisory Board for a term that begins August 8th and ends August 7th, 2028. The appointment will be made at the August 6th meeting. This was previously advertised and we had 0 applicants. So I'd like to encourage all those great people who applied for Planning Commission to consider the Green Space Advisory Board.
Thank you.
Moving forward, our first item of business is the consent agenda. Does any council member wish to remove an item from the consent agenda and deal with that item individually?
Anyone? Yes, sir, Mr. Moore.
Yes, sir, thank you. I'd like to remove item 8, Bravo 3.
All right. Anyone else? Okay, 8B3.
Item 8B3 authorizes a professional services agreement with Foresight Group LLC for the Beehive Road widening project in the amount of $72,300.
Move for approval.
Second.
All right, have a motion and a second. Mr. Mormon?
Yes, sir. This issue is a bit complex, so I wanted to make sure that we all knew kind of the background on it that I received from the city manager and the staff earlier in today and yesterday. Beehive Road is, I believe, a county road, Lee Road 10, and most of the funding is not coming out of our budget. The dollars are mostly federal, state, and county funds, as I understand it. So these are all my suppositions. These funds are managed by an organization called the MPO, or Metropolitan Planning Organization, which is made up of representatives from Lee County, Russell County, and possibly others. So,
Lee County, Russell County.
what did I
Yeah,
say?
keep on.
So as I understand it, we are voting on Auburn's portion of these funds, or is Auburn responsible for all the design costs? That's my first question.
Let's clarify. There's a greater project where Beehive Road, also known as Lee Road 10, currently starts at Cox Road by exit 50. Long ago, it went further, but we're going to go with today, and terminates up near Lochapoka High School. But we're talking about a section between Wire Road and Cox Road. It's a blend of county and city road based on a recent acceptance back in February. Correct, city engineer. And so what happens with this road is there's a number of things going on. One, it's in desperate need of resurfacing. So there's that. And there was a capital project in the budget approved last summer in the mid-biennium budget that talks through a contribution towards some of this resurfacing. This particular piece we're referring to that you're voting on tonight, because you're going to hear about this during our budget work sessions that are coming in the middle of August for the greater project as we've fleshed it out more and what contribution of funds are. This is just a design piece for a section that is on the western edge of the Choctaw Bridge near the entrance to Auburn Technology Park West that goes 400 feet west of Biltmore Lane, also known as Lee Road 9, that has to do with widening. The widenings confuse some folks. Widening means we're adding some turn lanes. And to roll this into the overall resurfacing project, which is a bigger capital project that will be done all at once, we need to get this design piece done. The city's on the hook for all of this money for design. So that's what you're considering tonight. In the budget, we're going to talk heavily about everybody's contribution amounts, which you have in an email that I sent you. The county's going to contribute matching funds. The city's going to contribute matching funds, and we're over like a all in with everybody's money plus some other things, well north of $3.6 million greater project. But you'll approve more about that later in the next step. But we need to get this design done to roll into the greater project, if that helps.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And one additional thing on that, it will be, the design will reflect Auburn standards. It will be designed to our standards because it touches the Auburn city limits, and it's expected, I guess, to be maybe one day surrounded by Auburn city limits, but it certainly touches it now.
Yeah, you pretty much, in the area that we're designing it is pretty much 100% Auburn city limits, and you have some private industrial areas of which you have a conditional use approval on your agenda later that is dabbling in one of those, and some public owned by the Industrial Development Board areas and new property that's tied in, and this is all in anticipation of development of those, as well as you have a longstanding business in the county but a good partner to the city, Young's Plant Farm, that has long been running trucks from the interstate end of Lee Road 9 or Biltmore all the way into this area. It's their only way in and out. So that's part of the reason for all these turn lanes, is to get in anticipation of further development.
So that's one reason it would make sense for Auburn to sustain the whole design cost. Because
Right, well, this is for 100% of what we're designing is all in the city limits right now, and is our responsibility, Allison, is that correct? Yeah, it would be our responsibility anyway. We, based on our agreement in February, took this section on.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments regarding 8B3? Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And that motion carries. Do I have a motion to approve the rest of the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion second. Any further questions? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And the consent agenda is carried forth. Ordinances.
Under ordinances this evening, item 9A1 is a request from Chuck and Jessica Hamard to annex approximately 4.45 acres of property located at 315 Lee Road 25, also known as Hillendale Drive, which is located outside the optimal boundary. The Planning Commission failed to recommend approval of this annexation by a vote of 3-5 at its July 11th meeting. Unanimous consent is necessary.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to postpone this item to a date certain of September 17th.
Okay. We need a second on that? All right, do I have a second?
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second to postpone until September 17th. Discussion?
Absolutely.
All right, discussion. Mr. Koblitz?
Yes, I I think this is a little bit of a unique situation, considering there was a handful of annexations that were on the planning commission agenda the other night, 4 of which were involved in that discussion were outside the optimal boundary as it currently sits. And I know this body and the planning commission, we are in very close weeks, maybe months. I'll look to the city manager to answer that.
It's
Hopefully,
weeks as quickly as you want to get it scheduled and you have time on your calendars, yeah.
to having discussion about the optimal boundary. And I just think in their discussions on the planning commission the other night, postponed 3 of these annexations that are currently outside the optimal boundary. I think this 4th one should be considered at the same time as those, after we've had a chance to discuss the optimal boundary and have those discussions and see where we are on that prior to looking at these annexations. And I think in fairness to all 4 applicants, I think that's the way we need to proceed in doing this. I certainly empathize with you, Mr. Hemmard, on your situation, and I'm sorry to hear that. I just believe being this close to a discussion on the optimal boundary, I think it's best that we wait to look at all those at the same time and consider them then.
Thank you, Mr. Koblenz. Anyone else have a comment or question? All right, so would this be a voice vote?
Absolutely. So I'll
Okay.
remind you, because we didn't introduce the ordinance further, it's not even been first reading, and it is totally in order to postpone prior to first reading. So,
All right, but we would confirm that with a voice vote. All right.
absolutely.
All right, so all in favor of postponing until September the 17th, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
All right, 1 nay. So that motion carries. Do we dispose with the rest of the ordinance, or do we move on?
It's
That's
not
it?
introduced because you postponed it, so you're fine.
Okay.
It will be introduced again at the September 17th
Okay,
agenda.
so we'll move on to item 2.
Item 9A2 is a request from Donna Kell to annex approximately 2.06 acres of property located at 350 Lee Road 72, also known as East Farmville Road. The Planning Commission unanimously recommended approval of this request at its July 11th meeting. Unanimous consent is necessary.
I'll introduce the ordinance and ask for unanimous consent.
Second.
Have a motion second. Does anyone on the council have a problem moving forward with a vote on this evening? Seeing or hearing none, any comments or questions? Yes, sir, Mr. Moore.
I would just like to clarify that we're voting on this as one parcel of 2.06 acres, which would come in as rural, which means one house.
I'm going to clarify with the planning director, there are currently 3 parcels that are part of a subdivision, but the total annexation size is 2.06 acres.
Okay,
3 parcels as outlined in your packet.
Yep, correct.
but coming in as rural,
Yes.
it's treated as one parcel,
No, it just has the rural zoning designation.
which I don't understand that. Could you clarify?
So, in rural, if you were to rezone to rural, you need to have 3-acre minimum lots. At a point in time, this property was subdivided and allowed to be subdivided into 3 separate parcels in the county less than that. That's already happened and over and done. So rural has certain requirements about the types of uses that can locate there, densities, all kinds of things. So they can't exceed any of those limits. It's considered a little bit of a non-conforming each lot, but it doesn't mean there aren't uses that can't go there.
Yeah, that's correct. And I guess also their intentions are not unlike other people who bring annexations into the city with ambitions to develop. Their timeline is just a little different. So normally annexations with these ambitions would be accompanied by a rezoning. Then there'd be a preliminary plat, final plat, et cetera, associated with it. But they're just breaking it up. And so that will happen in time. And so also the future land use of this property is medium density. And so it's not like it's supposed to be rural because it's not on the outside or the fringes or anything. And so they're going to annex in, they're going to figure out a lot layout, and then come forward with the rezoning, and then there'll be a preliminary plat associated with it. And so they're not really bound to the traditional lot minimum associated with rural of the 3-acre, like in some of the other areas. This is going to eventually be subdivided into smaller parcels for single-family housing.
But because the parcels already exist, they're legal subdivided parcels, they could put houses on them as they sit today. That's fine. This is, the rural zoning designation is automatic per the zoning ordinance. We have no choice here when we annex.
So in a way, we are considering the annexation of 3 parcels.
You can look at it that way, absolutely. And in total, that is all we look at is it's 2.06 acres of property coming into the city limits, no matter if it's 50 parcels in that 2.06 acres or 3. But it's the entirety and totality of it is 2.06 acres of new property coming into the city limits.
And it will be zoned rural,
Absolutely.
and that means one house per 3 acres is the
I'll have,
density.
not entirely. Go ahead.
Yeah. So it's an automatic designation that you receive upon annexation. And so, like I said, normally when people have ambitions to develop, the rezoning accompanies the annexation request. And so, like I said, they have ambitions to develop. Their timeline is just a lot longer than traditional.
But
people.
theoretically, they could build houses out there if they met setback
Yes.
requirements and so on. The lots are considered non-conforming by the zoning ordinance, but they can develop them meeting all rural zoning designation criteria for setbacks and impervious surfaces and the uses that are allowed in the rural zone. You could put an agricultural feed store here if you wanted. Right now, they could put a chicken plucking plant here on all their 2.06 acres if they wanted, and they can also, do all kinds of things 24 hours a day because they're not in the city limits. Once they come in, they can't do that. And I'm not saying they were intending to do that, but it does have now some zoning ordinance teeth to it, and it will sit here as a holding zone until they decide what they're going to do.
And then it will come back before the council to be rezoned? you
Yes,
think?
sir,
All right.
absolutely. Every zoning has to be approved by the council.
And then, just so I understand, by right, there could be 3 houses there.
They've got 3 individual if they can meet the criteria.
Yeah. So there hasn't really been, I guess, since that's not their plan. We haven't reviewed it for that. So I mean, I don't want to confirm that. So there's some irregularities with some of the lots, but like I said, I mean, there are other standards that would prevent just like 3 houses as of right now going there. It would have to still meet setbacks, frontage, et cetera, from a lot standpoint to be able to put those things there.
Okay, thank you very much.
And I know it's complicated because usually you don't see this this type of thing. And Planning Commission does have the right to waive subdivision regulations and probably did years ago to allow a family to subdivide in a certain way. So
Anyone else? Yes, sir, Mr. Griswold.
This is a follow-on, I suppose, to Mr. Mormon's question, but I'm confused still because it says in the discussion here in our packet that the petitioner is requesting to annex 1 existing lot of record, but there's actually 3 existing lots of record. Is that correct?
Yeah, and so there's just, I guess, kind of when we were dealing with a lot of the irregularities that were just kind of, it happened in the county that the city just kind of inherits as we kind of grow out in some of these areas. Even though we only have like the 1 deed, like it is, I guess as it's drawn, it looks like 3, but it's just 1. That's how we're treating it.
Is it their intent to have it resurveyed into a single lot?
No, so they're going to have it subdivided and hopefully that it goes to 8 lots. That's what they want to do.
8 lots.
Yeah. That's what the density is there from
and they
DDA.
can't do that without a rezoning. So that's just more to follow.
And so, like I was saying, normally all of this would come in under 1. It would be the annexation, the rezone, and then the preliminary plat. That's very standard for the bigger developers, but this isn't their ambition. This isn't the scale that they're working at.
Well, it's certainly confusing the way it's written up here. That's there's about 1 lot of record, so.
Is it 1 deed?
Yes.
Yes, that's why it's nice and confusing.
Okay.
But somehow then it also got subdivided. So yeah.
All right, thank you.
Okay, anyone else? Okay, we got it. All right, so we'll close the discussion. Lindsay with the roll call.
Dawson,
Yes, ma'am.
Griswold,
Yes, ma'am.
Mormon,
Yes, ma'am.
Parsons,
Yes.
Taylor,
Yes.
Witten,
Yes.
Adams,
Yes.
Copeland,
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Item 9A3 is a request from Richard Lee Schuman to annex approximately 3.89 acres of property located at 4099 Lee Road 146, also known as Moores Mill Road. The Planning Commission unanimously recommended approval of this request at its July 11th meeting. Unanimous consent is necessary.
I'll introduce the ordinance and ask for unanimous consent.
Second. I have a motion and a second. Does anyone on the council have a problem moving forward with a vote on this evening? All right, seeing and hearing none, is there any questions or discussion? Okay, Lindsay?
Griswold,
Yes, ma'am.
Mormon,
Yes, ma'am.
Parsons,
Yes.
Taylor,
Yes.
Witten,
Yes.
Adams,
Yes.
Copeland,
Yes, ma'am.
Dawson,
Yes, ma'am.
Anders.
Yes.
Resolutions. Item 10A is a request for conditional use approval of a commercial support use a warehouse and distribution center for property located at 3010 Beehive Road in the Industrial Zoning District. The Planning Commission unanimously recommended approval of this request at its July 11th meeting. A public hearing is required.
Move for approval. Second.
Have a motion and a second. This time I'll open the public hearing. If you'd like to address City Council, please come forward and give us your name and address for the record. You will have 5 minutes to speak on this topic. Seeing no one, we'll close the public hearing. Any questions or discussion from the council? Okay. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Item 10B authorizes a contract with Vortex Services LLC for the Auburn Sanitary Sewer Rehabilitation Project in the Willow Creek and Auburn University sewer basins in the amount of $1,574,024.75.
Move for approval.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any comments or questions?
Yes, sir, Mayor, if I may.
Please,
I'd
yes,
like
Chief.
to get Ms. Megan to explain exactly what this is, so the public can know.
I will have Eric Carson explain from the engineer lens. Go ahead, Eric.
Okay. We've completed a sanitary sewer survey and evaluation study recently on those outfalls that go through Auburn University and through Willow Creek. We identified the manholes and sewer lines that showing signs of infiltration, which has taken up capacity at our Northside sewer plant. So this is the bid for the rehabilitation of those sewer mains and manholes that are leaking into our system.
That means that stormwater is getting into the system, which just takes up capacity needed for sewer water. And so we work hard to keep that out so that we're sending those two things to their rightful locations.
That's correct. We do sanitary sewer evaluations every year on different basins, and as a result, we'll design rehabilitation projects and bring them to you on an annual basis, trying to keep good maintenance of the system.
Thank you, sir.
Any other questions? Yes, sir, Mr.
Yes,
Griswold.
Mr. Mayor, thank you. Looking at these maps, it's kind of difficult to see where the lake is in conjunction or in relation to these various manhole covers or in relation to people's properties. So the ones that go along the lake or whatnot, are the manholes between the edge of the lake and the properties, the homes, or are they under the water, or where are they?
They're right up on the edge of the lake, and some of them are actually on little peninsulas that were built out into the lake years ago.
Okay, and what level of disturbance will the residents experience through this process?
The manhole rehabilitation shouldn't be too bad. It'll just be some small equipment, maybe a pickup truck or something like that. They'll set the equipment on top of the manhole and spray a polymer liner inside the manhole, and they'll do several manholes a day with minimal disturbance. Some of the sewer main rehab further to the northwest of Willow Creek will be a little more involved, but we expect minimal impact on the residents of Willow Creek. But there may be some, but our communication team will be reaching out to the Willow Creek Homeowners Association and communicating with them, and we'll do everything we can to minimize any damage to the extent possible.
Thank you very much.
And Eric will be working inside of our easements.
That's correct. We may have to get some right of entry from some of the property owners to help us maybe carry some equipment down there so we don't have to bring equipment all the way down the easement to simplify things. We'll just deal with them on a case-by-case basis.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any other comments or questions from the council? All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And the motion carries.
Mayor, those are all the items of business we have for you this evening.
All right. At this time, we'll open the Citizens Open Forum. It's your opportunity to speak to the council about anything. We'll ask that you come forward and give us your name and address for the record, and you will have 3 minutes to speak, and we ask that you make your comments to the city council. Yes, sir.
My name is Robert Wilkins, 261 Denson Drive, Auburn. My speech, I'm tearing up. I am disappointed in the entire council. Maybe after I speak, someone's going to speak about it. I see this flag over here that I believe in so much, and I know all of you believe in it. I remember in 1962 coming to the United States from Germany. And when I came here, the year later, I was supposed to go back to be with my mother in 1963 in November of 21, November the 21st. The next day, as I was on the bus, John Kennedy was assassinated. It was a horrible day. I was stuck in a hotel. I don't know who paid for it, for over 2 weeks. And in that hotel, all I watched was John Kennedy. Since then, I remember Reagan when he got shot. And now we have a former president who is running, who likely will be president. And I haven't heard any memorial or any type, not memorial, but any type of silence or anything for Donald Trump. And I don't know if we've gotten woke in this community or what's going on, but I think it's sad. I think it's sad. The presidency is the most veered position. George Washington was asked to be emperor, and he said, no, we have a country that is of the people. And the presidency is so, so important to all of us. And I think that when this session opened, or this council meeting opened, I think it should have been immediate. And I'm just disappointed because a lot of you I have an immense amount of respect for, really. I may talk about a lot of things. I may talk about things that I think need to be improved. And sometimes y'all actually even agree with me. But this is one time that I'm disappointed. I can't understand why we're not at least acknowledging that a former president within a centimeter of a bullet would have died. And we would have been doing funeral arrangements for a presidential parade type thing. And it's a shame. And I'm just disappointed. Thank you.
Who will be next?
Martha Shamp, 307 Camellia Drive. And yes, I approve of that message also.
Excuse me, Mrs. Sham.
Yes.
I just would like to remind you that there are children in our audience.
Yes, thank you. I do understand. I'm so glad that a righteous, beautiful Auburn was here in 1975 for me. I came here as an Auburn University student and was born again and saved. That was an Auburn United Methodist Church. In 1975, it was a pure church, then honoring God's Word. Then about 30 years later, Auburn United Methodist bought out the St. Michael's Catholic Sanctuary that sits beside it, and St. Michael's built a large, lovely new church which is operating up on North College. By then, 30 years later, God had blessed me with 141 acres of prime land across from Ashton Park up here on North College by the fisheries. I sold it in 2007 for $2.02 million, and I tithed on that amount to various ministries: Eastwood Christian School out in the county, Auburn United Methodist Church, St. Michael's Catholic, along with Providence Presbyterian over in Montgomery County, and many other ministries. The joy I had felt since that windfall has been great. But God gave me joy in Auburn. Joy. It had, even before the sale of that land, I had the good, clean, free public schools. All three of my children were taught decent Christian ethics, and Christian values ran the day here. That was a while ago. All my children graduated from a then excellent Auburn High School. 2 of them went on to Auburn University. 1 graduated summa cum laude. 1 went to Huntingdon, graduated. They're all successful, all prospering. My son joined the Army in 2007, fought in Iraq. He trained over at Fort Benning, now Fort Moore. He came home in one piece. Hallelujah, praise God forever, and he is prospering. Joy filled our lives here in Auburn, Alabama, and I'm grateful. We lived among mostly moral people of clean minds and conservative Christian values in this city. I remember the Maranatha House near the former Anders bookstore on Magnolia Avenue. Holy Spirit-filled students, Auburn University students clapped and shouted and sang, and they were full of joy. You could hear it out the windows on Magnolia Avenue when you walk by. The joy of the Lord is their strength and was their strength. God later taught me to tithe, and he also taught me by a man in Virginia, if you have a great need, sow a great seed. If you have a great need, sow a great seed. Giving brings a release of signs and miracles. And so I did. And it's joy unspeakable and full of glory, my memories of a Christian village on the plains.
Thank you, Ms. Shamp.
Named Auburn.
Who would be next? Anyone? Okay. This time we'll close citizens' open forum. Anyone on the council have anything they'd like to say as we finish up here tonight?
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
At the packet meeting, I asked a question about the Martin Luther King streetscape and the upkeep. So do you have any update on that?
No, ma'am. I mean, I responded to that email, and I responded to you at the packet meeting. I responded to your constituent that a meeting would be had between the engineering department and the contractor, and I don't know the results of that meeting. We have not resolved that, so I'm going to explain. When a project is not, and I'll liken this to Lake Wilmore or anything else, even if it's on city property, when we do construction projects anywhere in the city, all areas of Auburn are treated equal in terms of the city cannot go onto its own property and just mow grass or pick up garbage or do anything else. That site at that time is under the control of the contractor, and we have contractual obligations with them, so we can push them to do things that are contractual in nature, but we don't treat any properties differently, but we also don't have full control over our own property unless we want to breach our own contract. And so this is always a challenge because we also hold the contractor responsibility from a liability standpoint if somebody gets hurt, if something gets broken or taken out. So rightfully so, a citizen is upset that the Martin Luther King Drive streetscape, there's some weeds growing in the grass. The city staff is not satisfied with that either, but we have to go through a contractual mechanism to work with our contractor on that. In this particular instance, there are some challenges that they're beyond their time where they should be required to maintain it. So we have to work that out with them, which we're happy to do. But I am sorry to the citizens who are upset about it. It's not our intent for it to not be mowed just the same as anywhere else in the city, but we're stuck contractually right now until we can work through that.
And I appreciate the explanation for that, Megan. And the only reason why I brought it up, just in case, because people have been asking me about it in that area. And so I just, want to go on record for people to understand that it's not the city that's withholding the upkeep of it, but it's the contract. So just you explaining it, and maybe people can hear that, or I can relay that to people when they call me. But I was concerned about it myself, and I didn't even know those facts that you gave today.
I would like one other thing. Our public works director may have to stand up just real quick. Is Martin Luther King Drive is a major corridor into the city, as many other major corridors are. They get extra attention. We mow them more frequently, and I think there's been some questions from some of your constituents. Will this be treated the same or as every other corridor? Yes, this is a major gateway, but we mow them more frequently. And Mr. Ballard, can you speak to that? Just get close to a microphone so that people can hear you on the.
We operate on about a 2 to 3 week basis with our right-of-way rotation maintenance for all of our major corridors.
So South College Street and Martin Luther King Drive and Glen Avenue, Opelika Road, all of that all treated the same. Major corridors get slightly extra attention because they are the main thoroughfares through the city.
Okay, good.
Okay, thank you.
You good? Mm-hmm. Okay. Anyone else? Yes, sir, Mr. Moore.
Yes, sir, thank you. I would like to say that I personally am very, very glad that Donald Trump was not assassinated, and I'm very, very sorry for the firefighter that lost his life in that rally and the 2 people that were injured. And I won't speak for everybody up here, but I bet everybody feels the same way. And back on city business just for a minute, we approved a couple of things tonight on the consent agenda that we didn't take off and review individually, and they had to do with Lake Wilmore. And the kinds of things that we approved tonight had to do with finishing touches, I guess, on Lake Wilmore, the audio-visual and other things. So we're getting dangerously close, I think, to realizing a new park facility, and I probably should have had a lot of questions for our Parks and Rec director, but
She said she loves when you ask her lots of questions. That's why she's sitting up here front and center in a perfect seat for that.
we're excited for you and for us.
Anyone else?
Mayor, I would like to also express my deep condolences to the Trump family. Could have been much worse than it was. And I don't think you're in any position, Mr. Wilkins, to question how I feel about a certain person or anything else. So just so you'll know, I'm very much a conservative Christian. I don't have to go around proving it. I was watching it live when Mr. Trump almost lost his life. I was watching when a firefighter did lose his life, and there's still another person. I think that's what we think more about is the person in the crowd who was putting a shield over his family that was shot. Innocent person should have never been shot. So I really don't think you have any right to stand up and tell me how I feel. I was taught to pray in your closet when you want to talk to the good Lord. I don't need to do it in front of folks. I don't need to put up a front, ask for any time out or whatever, or moment of silence. I really don't like a moment of silence. I think that's the problem. We've done too much moment of silence. We need to ask the Lord directly and talk to Him about it. But that's done. I do it in private. I don't have to do it in public. And as far as Ms. Shamp, I really resent you saying plant a seed for a need. I don't have to plant a seed for a need. The Lord meets my needs. He always has. I'm 58 years old, and I've always had my needs met by the good Lord. I don't have to be a crook and send my money into these TV preachers and to get results in my life. God He sweeps out gold dust every morning. He don't need my money. So just so you'll know, I'd rather you not. If you have something to talk to the city about, fine. I encourage you to do it. But to come here and tell me I need to plant a seed to get a need, I don't need a seed to get a need. My needs are met, have been met, and they will be met from now on out. While I'm on this earth, they'll be met, and when I die and go to heaven one day, because I put my faith and trust in Jesus Christ, He'll welcome me home. It won't be because of money I gave, because I never had any money to give, really. Now, I give 10% of my tithe. I believe in that. But I don't have to give anybody on this earth a seed to talk to Jesus Christ, my Lord and Savior. So thank you.
Anyone else?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor.
Please.
One of the things that I most like about local politics is it's local. I get calls from people in my ward. I may not agree with their larger politics, but that doesn't stop me from representing their concerns, and I'm very much proud of the fact that this body does all it can to remain nonpartisan, and in saying that, I don't think there's anybody up here who felt any joy or anything other than sadness when Mr. Trump was shot.
Anyone
Well,
else?
yeah, I want to say something on that subject too, because I was kind of offended that, that we was put in a category, and I'm gonna speak for myself also, we are included. Regardless to what people's presidential preferences are, I don't think nobody would want to see anybody get shot or even killed. And so I don't, people have different ways of praying. When it first happened, I went into prayer myself. So just because it may not happen, or we all didn't pray today or take a moment of silence, that does not mean that we was not praying for Trump and his family. So for somebody to say that, they disappointed in the council, but you don't know how people pray. So you can't just say that you're disappointed, because if you're saying you're disappointed, that means you're thinking that we did not pray. So, and I don't think that's for no one to say people pray differently. Some people don't pray out loud. We have a moment of silence here. And so I'm quite sure when everybody get up, they got their moment of silence as to how they want to pray. So, but, you know, my sympathy goes out to the Trump family and for all those, for the ones that got killed and the ones that got wounded doing it. But that does not mean that we did not sympathize with a former president. That's my take on it.
Thank you, Ms. Taylor. Anyone else?
Yeah, I'd like to say to Ms. Taylor, I feel your pain on MLK because I had the same thing on Cox Road a few years ago. And I know how it feels not to have a job completely finished and people asking you about it, so. But if you remember, I told you you're going to be 2 or 3 years when it first started.
Are we talking about Trump?
No.
Oh.
On the maintenance on MLK.
Oh, okay, I got you.
Let me make a few comments and we'll get on with our evening. I want to say thank you and congratulations to East Alabama Health. They were recently recognized as one of the best maternity hospitals in Alabama. They received a 5-star, and there were 3 in Alabama that received a 5-star. It was reported over 2,000 babies a year are born at our local hospital. So congratulations for their work and the nurses, doctors, all the staff out there. Also, the city of Auburn University was recently recognized by an organization called Market Beat, and for being a hidden gem for business startups. And I wanted to read to you part of this article. Auburn Home to Auburn University provides a robust foundation for startups and access to research resources, a steady talent pipeline, and strong entrepreneurial programs. The Auburn Research Park and New Venture Accelerator offer essential support through mentorship, networking, and funding opportunities, coupled with a high quality of life and an affordable cost of living. Auburn is an ideal environment for entrepreneurs to thrive. And so Auburn was ranked 30th in the United States for being a location for business startups. There's a lot of work that goes into that. The relationship between the university and the city is a big part of the underlying story there. And I look forward into the future sharing with you even how that relationship is going to grow and do better things for our community. But certainly thankful that we created a place not just for families to bring their children to our schools, not just for people to retire, but for people to come and start a business and feel like that there's the kind of ecosystem here in Auburn that can be supportive of what their dreams are and to see those to fruition. I appreciate everybody's comments here tonight, and all of you that spoke have spoke from the heart, and I'm grateful to work alongside of you. This afternoon, I spoke to a young man who lives in our community that is part of the Secret Service. And it's a challenging time for them right now. And he's a fine young man. And what happened to the former president was unbelievable to see that on live TV and to think about where we would be today if that shot had rung true. And I praise God that it didn't. And certainly for that firefighter and his 2 little girls and his family, the tough times they have ahead of them, we should all be thankful, thoughtful, and pray for that family. But what he and I were talking about is those 6 or 7 people that rallied around the president as he was bleeding from the face, didn't know where the next shot was coming from, and they didn't care because they were doing their job. And that's one of the roles he plays, is to be that person on his detail. And so the world we live in is a very complicated world, and it's a very divisive world. And what we see on TV sometimes resonates in our community and sometimes impacts our community. And I hope all of us, as we move into the fall and move in towards November, and maybe the rhetoric will cease as the 2 presidential candidates have talked to each other and have encouraged everybody to work towards. But I hope we all can find a new pathway to debate our differences and not to make those differences personal and inflammatory to one another, but that we really care about doing what's right for our community. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
We're adjourned.